First contact and ridicule. The starship Terran Hope hung in space like a gleaming silver needle against the vast tapestry of stars. Inside, Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's viewport, her dark eyes fixed on the looming alien space station. It was a massive structure, all sweeping curves and pulsing lights, unlike anything humanity had ever constructed. Today marked a pivotal moment in human history, their official induction into the Galactic Confederation. Nervous, Captain? Commander Jack O'Neill asked, coming to stand beside her. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Excited, more like. We've waited generations for this moment. The comm system crackled to life. Terran vessel, you are cleared for docking. Welcome to Starpoint Alpha. As the Terran Hope glided towards the docking bay, Sarah couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. Humanity had come so far in such a short time. From their first tentative steps beyond their solar system to now, joining an interstellar community of advanced civilizations. It felt like a dream. The docking procedure went smoothly, and soon Sarah found herself leading a small delegation through the station's gleaming corridors. Aliens of all shapes and sizes bustled past, some humanoid, others utterly alien. The air hummed with a cacophony of languages, most beyond human comprehension. They were led to a grand chamber where representatives from various species had gathered. At the center stood a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin, and Ellerin, one of the Confederation's founding races. Welcome, humans. The Ellerin's voice was melodious, translated through their advanced technology. I am High Counselor Zara. We are pleased to finally welcome Earth into our community. Sarah stepped forward, bowing slightly. Thank you, High Counselor. We are honored to be here. As introductions were made, Sarah couldn't help but notice the curious, and sometimes skeptical, looks they were receiving. She'd expected some of this. Humanity was still young compared to many of these civilizations. A gruff voice cut through the polite chatter. So these are the newcomers. They don't look like much. Sarah turned to see a burly, reptilian alien eyeing them with clear disdain. His scales shimmered with a metallic sheen, and cybernetic implants were visible along his arms. General Kraz, Zara said, a note of warning in her voice. The humans are our guests. Kraz snorted, a puff of steam escaping his nostrils. Guests? More like charity cases. Tell me, humans, what can you possibly offer the Confederation? Your technology is centuries behind ours. Sarah felt her cheeks flush, but she kept her composure. We may be young, General, but we have much to offer. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our adaptability and innovation. This elicited chuckles from several of the gathered aliens. Kraz's laugh was the loudest. Innovation? Your ships still use primitive fusion drives. Your weapons are barely more than projectile launchers. It's a miracle you made it this far without blowing yourselves up. O'Neill stepped forward, his face reddening. Now wait just a minute. Sarah placed a calming hand on his arm. It's all right, Commander. She addressed Kraz directly. We may not have the most advanced technology, General, but we've learned to make the most of what we have. And we're quick learners. Kraz's eyes narrowed. Pretty words. But this isn't a debating hall. The galaxy is a dangerous place, filled with threats you can't even imagine. Your adaptability won't mean much when you're facing down a swarm-high ship or a void crusher. An uncomfortable silence fell over the chamber. Sarah could see worry and doubt in the eyes of her fellow humans. This wasn't the warm welcome they'd hoped for. Zara cleared her throat. Perhaps a demonstration is in order. General Kraz, why don't you show our new allies some of the Confederation's defensive capabilities? I'm sure they'd be most interested. Kraz's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. With pleasure, High Counselor. Follow me, humans. Let's see how your innovation measures up. As they were led from the chamber, Sarah caught Zora's eye. The Ellerin gave her an apologetic look. It was clear that not everyone in the Confederation was thrilled about humanity's inclusion. The group was taken to a vast training arena. Holographic projections created stunningly realistic environments, from alien cityscapes to barren moons. Kraz strode to a weapons rack, selecting a sleek rifle that hummed with barely contained energy. "This," he said, holding it aloft, "is a Mark VI plasma caster, standard issue for Confederation peacekeeping forces, capable of punching through 3 feet of reinforced durasteel at 1,000 yards. He aimed at a distant target, and with a high-pitched whine, a bolt of blue-white energy lanced out, vaporizing the target instantly. Sarah heard gasps of awe from her team. Even she had to admit it was impressive. Kraz turned to them, his expression smug. "Well, let's see what you've brought to the table." Sarah nodded to O'Neill, who unslung the rifle from his back. It looked positively archaic next to the alien weapons, all sharp angles and utilitarian design. "This is an M42 Gauss rifle," O'Neill explained. "Magnetically accelerated projectiles. Not as flashy as your plasma, but it gets the job done." Kraz snorted. "A coil gun? How quaint. You realize we outgrew that technology millennia ago." O'Neill's jaw clenched, but he kept his cool. He took aim at a target and fired. The rifle's report was sharp and crisp, and the target's center exploded in a shower of debris. "Not bad," Kraz admitted grudgingly, "for a museum piece, but can it do this?" He tapped a control on his rifle, and the weapon's hum deepened. The next shot he fired left a molten crater 10 feet wide. The demonstration continued, with Kraz showcasing increasingly powerful and exotic weapons. Force fields that could withstand orbital bombardment. Drone swarms that could strip a battlefield bare in seconds. With each display, the human delegation grew quieter, the gap between their technology and the Confederation's becoming painfully clear. Finally, Kraz turned to them, his expression a mixture of pity and contempt. "You see now. This is what it takes to survive out here. Your weapons, your ships, your entire civilization. It's all hopelessly outclassed. Your children playing at war games while the adults handle the real threats." Sarah had heard enough. She stepped forward, her voice steady despite the anger burning in her chest. "You're right, General. Our technology isn't as advanced as yours. We can't match your firepower or your defenses. Not yet, but let me tell you what we can do." She met his gaze unflinchingly. "We can adapt. We can learn. Humanity has faced extinction-level threats more times than I can count, and each time we've come back stronger. We've turned our resource-poor planet into a thriving civilization. We've overcome our own violent nature to reach for the stars. And now that we're here, we won't stop until we stand as equals among you." Kraz opened his mouth to retort, but Sarah pressed on. "You've shown us weapons, General. Impressive ones. But technology isn't everything. The most powerful weapon, the most unbreakable shield, is useless without the will and the ingenuity to use it properly. And in those qualities, I promise you, humanity will never be found lacking." A tense silence fell over the arena. Sarah could feel the weight of alien gazes upon her, some curious, some dismissive, a few even showing a glimmer of respect. Zara stepped forward, her luminescent skin pulsing gently. "Well said, Captain Chen. It seems we may have underestimated our new allies." She turned to address the gathered aliens. "Let us remember, friends, that every species in the Confederation was once where humanity stands now. We did not achieve greatness by mocking those different from us, but by learning from each other, by growing together." She placed a delicate hand on Sarah's shoulder. "Humanity has much to learn, yes, but I suspect they may have much to teach us as well." As they left the arena, Sarah could feel a shift in the atmosphere. The road ahead would be challenging, no doubt. Humanity had a long way to go to prove themselves, but they'd taken their first steps into a larger universe, and they would face whatever came next the way they always had, with determination, creativity, and an unwavering spirit. The adventure was just beginning. The challenge. The days following humanity's introduction to the Galactic Confederation were a whirlwind of activity. Captain Sarah Chen found herself thrust into the role of de facto ambassador, navigating a complex web of alien politics and cultural sensitivities. The Terran Hope remained docked at Starpoint Alpha, its crew rotating through tours of the massive station and struggling to absorb the sheer scope of the galactic community they joined. It was during one such tour that Sarah received an urgent message from High Counselor Zara. "Captain, your presence is requested in the council chambers immediately. It seems General Kraz has made a proposal." Sarah's stomach tightened. She hadn't seen the belligerent alien general since their confrontation in the weapons demonstration, but his disdainful words still rang in her ears. With a quick nod to her guide, she made her way to the heart of the station. The council chamber was a vast, circular room, its curved walls adorned with holographic displays showing distant star systems and swirling galaxies. Representatives from dozens of species occupied tiered seating, their quiet murmurs creating a background hum of alien languages. At the center, General Kraz stood before the High Council, his scales gleaming under the soft light. As Sarah entered, all eyes turned to her. She straightened her uniform and approached, acutely aware of how out of place she felt among these advanced beings. "Ah, the human arrives," Kraz rumbled, a predatory grin spreading across his reptilian features. "Good. Now we can begin." High Counselor Zara's melodious voice cut through the tension. "Captain Chen, thank you for joining us. General Kraz has put forward a proposal regarding humanity's inclusion in the Confederation. We felt it only right that you be present for this discussion." Sarah nodded, her eyes never leaving Kraz. "Thank you, High Counselor. What exactly is this proposal?" Kraz's cybernetic implants pulsed with barely contained energy. "It's quite simple, human. You claim your species is adaptable, innovative, that you can stand among us as equals despite your primitive technology. I say it's time to put those claims to the test." A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber. Sarah's mind raced, trying to anticipate where this was going. "What kind of test did you have in mind, General?" "A series of challenges," Kraz replied, his voice carrying a note of challenge. "Pitting your best and brightest against champions from established Confederation races. Tests of technology, strategy, and combat prowess. If you truly belong among us, surely you can prove it." Sarah's fists clenched at her sides. This was a trap, plain and simple. Kraz was setting them up to fail, to humiliate humanity before the entire Confederation. But refusing would only confirm the worst suspicions about their species' capabilities. Before she could respond, another voice rang out. "I second the proposal." Sarah turned to see an avian alien with iridescent feathers and sharp, intelligent eyes. She recognized the species, a Talaxian, known for their analytical minds and love of competition. "The Talaxian Conclave supports this initiative," the alien continued. "It will provide valuable data on human capabilities and potential contributions to the Confederation." More voices joined in, some in support, others raising concerns. The chamber erupted into debate, a cacophony of alien tongues that made Sarah's universal translator struggle to keep up. High Counselor Zara raised a hand, calling for silence. "This is an unusual proposal, General Kraz. Never before have we subjected a new member race to such trials." Her luminous eyes turned to Sarah. "Captain Chen, as humanity's representative, what are your thoughts on this matter?" Sarah took a deep breath, weighing her words carefully. Every fiber of her being wanted to refuse, to call out this obvious ploy for what it was. But as she looked around the chamber, she saw genuine curiosity in many alien faces. This wasn't just about Kraz's prejudice. It was a chance to show the entire Confederation what humanity was truly capable of. "We accept the challenge," Sarah declared, her voice ringing clear through the chamber. A hush fell over the assembled aliens. Even Kraz looked taken aback for a moment before his smug grin returned. However, Sarah continued, locking eyes with the general. "We have conditions. First, these trials must be fair, with clearly defined parameters agreed upon by all parties. Second, we request a period of time to prepare and familiarize ourselves with Confederation technology and protocols. And third, her gaze swept the chamber. We ask that regardless of the outcome, humanity's place in the Confederation remains secure. We came here in peace, seeking friendship and mutual growth. That shouldn't be jeopardized by the results of a contest. The chamber erupted in discussion once more. Sarah stood firm, her heart pounding but her resolve unshaken. Finally, High Counselor Zara spoke. "Your terms are reasonable, Captain Chen. The Council will need time to deliberate on the exact nature of these trials, but we can agree to your conditions in principle. You will have one standard galactic month to prepare. Use it wisely." Kraz's eyes narrowed, but he nodded in grudging acceptance. 1 month, then. Make the most of it, humans. You'll need every second. As the council session adjourned, Sarah's mind was already racing with plans. She needed to contact Earth immediately, to mobilize their best scientists, strategists, and soldiers. They had 1 month to prove humanity's worth to a galaxy that already doubted them. Outside the chamber, Commander O'Neill was waiting, concern etched on his features. "I heard what happened. Are you sure about this, Captain? We're in way over our heads here." Sarah managed a small smile. "Maybe. But that's where humans have always done their best work, isn't it? Come on, Jack. We've got a lot of work to do." Over the next few weeks, Starpoint Alpha became a hive of activity. The human delegation expanded as specialists from Earth arrived, bringing with them the best technology and brightest minds humanity had to offer. Dr. Evelyn Zhao, a brilliant xenobiologist, pored over Confederation medical databases, searching for insights that could give them an edge. Meanwhile, Major Dant Williams, a decorated Special Forces operative, trained relentlessly in the station's simulated environments, pushing himself to the limits of human endurance. Sarah found herself in endless meetings with alien scientists and diplomats, absorbing as much knowledge as she could about Confederation technology and tactics. The learning curve was steep, but with each passing day, she felt her team growing stronger, more confident. Not everyone was thrilled with the humans' presence, of course. Kraz and his supporters made their disdain clear, often accidentally scheduling training sessions to overlap with the humans' allotted time. But for every sneer or dismissive comment, there were also aliens who offered help or encouragement. A young Talaxian engineer named Zix became a frequent visitor to the human labs, his curiosity about their primitive technology leading to fascinating exchanges of ideas. Even a few of Kraz's own soldiers, impressed by Major Williams' dedication, began to offer tips on Confederation combat techniques. As the day of the trials approached, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of anticipation and dread. They had learned so much, pushed themselves to their limits and beyond. But would it be enough? The gap between human technology and that of the Confederation was vast. Even with a month of preparation, they were still underdogs by any measure. The night before the trials were set to begin, Sarah stood at the viewport in her quarters, gazing out at the star-studded expanse. The fate of humanity's place in the galaxy rested on what would happen tomorrow. The pressure was immense, but as she reflected on how far they'd come in such a short time, she felt a surge of pride. A gentle chime announced a visitor. It was Dr. Zhao, her eyes bright with excitement. "Captain, you need to see this. We've had a breakthrough." As Sarah followed the scientist to the makeshift lab, she allowed herself a glimmer of hope. Whatever challenges tomorrow brought, humanity would face them the way they always had, with determination, ingenuity, and an unwavering spirit. The real test was about to begin. Unexpected results. The day of the trials dawned with an air of tense anticipation. Starpoint Alpha buzzed with activity as representatives from across the Confederation gathered to witness the unprecedented event. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the head of the human delegation, her face a mask of calm determination that belied the nervous energy coursing through her. "Ready for this?" Commander O'Neill asked, coming to stand beside her. Sarah nodded, her eyes fixed on the massive doors leading to the trial arena. as ready as we'll ever be. Did Dr. Zhao's team finish their modifications? Just barely, O'Neill confirmed. They were working through the night. It's untested, but, he shrugged, a wry smile on his face. When has that ever stopped us? Before Sarah could respond, a melodious chime echoed through the chamber. The doors swung open, revealing a vast, circular arena. Tiered seating surrounded a central platform that shimmered with holographic projectors. At the far end, General Kraz stood with a team of aliens from various Confederation species, his cybernetic implants pulsing with anticipation. High Counselor Zara's voice rang out, amplified for all to hear. Esteemed members of the Galactic Confederation, we gather today to witness a series of trials that will test the capabilities of our newest members, humanity. These challenges will push the limits of technology, strategy, and adaptability. Let us begin. The first trial was a test of technological prowess. Each team was tasked with repairing a damaged Confederation shuttle using only the tools and materials provided. The catch: the shuttle systems were far more advanced than anything humanity had encountered before. As the challenge began, Sarah watched anxiously as Dr. Zhao led the human tech team. They moved with purpose, but it was clear they were struggling to make sense of the alien technology. Kraz's team, by contrast, worked with practiced efficiency, their movements swift and sure. But then, something unexpected happened. Dr. Zhao, instead of trying to force the unfamiliar systems to work, began to improvise. Using a combination of Confederation parts and modified human tech, she created a hybrid system that not only repaired the shuttle but improved its efficiency. The alien observers murmured in surprise. Even Kraz looked taken aback. When the results were tallied, the humans had not only completed the repair, but had done so in less time than the Confederation team. Impossible, Kraz growled, his eyes narrowing suspiciously. Sarah couldn't help the small smile that tugged at her lips. Not impossible, General. Just human ingenuity. The next trial was a test of tactical acumen. Major Williams led a small team in a complex simulation, pitting them against a Confederation force in a mock space battle. The human ships were outgunned and outnumbered, their technology centuries behind their opponents. As the simulation began, it seemed like a slaughter. The Confederation forces pressed their advantage, their superior weapons tearing through the human fleet's defenses. But Williams didn't fight like they expected. Instead of engaging in direct combat, he used the debris of destroyed ships as cover, set up intricate traps, and employed unconventional maneuvers that the rigid Confederation tactical doctrine hadn't accounted for. The tide began to turn. Williams' unorthodox strategies confused and frustrated the Confederation commanders, who were used to enemies that fought according to established galactic norms. By the time the simulation ended, the human fleet, while battered, had achieved its objectives and inflicted disproportionate losses on the enemy. The arena was abuzz with excited chatter. Alien tacticians huddled together, animatedly discussing the human strategies they'd just witnessed. Sarah caught sight of the Talaxian representative, Zix, furiously taking notes, his eyes wide with fascination. Kraz was livid. "This is absurd," he roared. "These trials were meant to expose human weakness. Not this." High Counselor Zora's voice was calm but carried a note of reproach. "The purpose of these trials, General, was to test human capabilities. It seems they are exceeding expectations." The final trial was perhaps the most daunting, a test of adaptability in an alien environment. Both teams would be transported to a nearby moon with a hostile atmosphere, tasked with retrieving a valuable artifact from an ancient ruin. The Confederation team had the advantage of advanced environmental suits and scanning technology. The humans, with their more limited gear, seemed hopelessly outmatched. As the trial began, Sarah watched the holographic display with bated breath. The Confederation team moved swiftly across the lunar surface, their advanced tech easily navigating the treacherous terrain. The human team, led by a geologist named Dr. Patel, moved more cautiously. But as they approached the ruins, something changed. Dr. Patel, drawing on her experience with Earth's varied geological formations, began to notice patterns in the alien structures. She guided her team through hidden passages and around dangerous pitfalls that the Confederation team's scanners had missed. The race to the artifact was neck and neck. In the final chamber, both teams faced a cryptic alien puzzle that guarded the prize. The Confederation team attempted to brute force the solution with their advanced computers. But Dr. Patel, recognizing similarities to ancient Earth cultures, decoded the puzzle through sheer intuition and historical knowledge. Against all odds, the human team emerged victorious, clutching the artifact as they were transported back to the arena. The chamber erupted in a mix of cheers, gasps, and bewildered exclamations. Sarah felt a swell of pride as she watched her team emerge, tired but triumphant. They had done the impossible, proven that humanity could not only compete with the Confederation, but could offer unique and valuable perspectives. General Kraz stood silent, his expression unreadable. For a moment, Sarah wondered if he would protest, claim some form of cheating or manipulation. But then, to her surprise, he approached her, his cybernetic eye wearing as it focused on her face. "Captain Chen," he rumbled, his voice low. "It seems I may have underestimated your species." Sarah met his gaze steadily. "Thank you, General. I hope this demonstrates that while we may not have the most advanced technology, humanity has much to offer the Confederation." Kraz nodded slowly. "Perhaps. You are not what I expected. Your methods are unorthodox, even chaotic by our standards." But he paused, seeming to struggle with the words, "effective, undeniably effective." Before Sarah could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red emergency lights bathed the arena in an ominous glow. High Counselor Zara's voice, tinged with urgency, echoed through the chamber. "All personnel, report to emergency stations immediately. We have detected a void crusher emerging from hyperspace on an attack vector. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." A chill ran down Sarah's spine. She had heard of void crushers during their briefings, monstrous living ships that consumed everything in their path. They were one of the deadliest threats the Confederation faced. Kraz was already moving, barking orders into his communicator. He paused, turning back to Sarah. "Well, Captain, you wanted to prove humanity's worth to the Confederation. Now's your chance to do it for real." Sarah nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. "We're with you, General. What do you need us to do?" As they rushed from the arena, Sarah realized that the true test was just beginning. The trials had been a crucible, forging a newfound respect between humans and the Confederation. Now, they would face a real threat together. It was time to show the galaxy what humanity could really do when the stakes were life and death. The battle for Starpoint Alpha was about to begin. Crisis and cooperation. Chaos erupted throughout Starpoint Alpha as the reality of the Void Crusher's approach set in. Alarms blared, emergency force fields snapped into place, and beings of all species rushed to battle stations or evacuation points. Captain Sarah Chen found herself running alongside General Kraz towards the station's command center, her mind racing to process the sudden shift from competition to crisis. As they burst into the command center, a massive holographic display dominated the room, showing the looming threat. The Void Crusher was a nightmarish sight, a writhing mass of tentacles and crystalline structures surrounding a pulsing otherworldly core. It dwarfed the Confederation ships that were scrambling to form a defensive perimeter. High Counselor Zara's normally melodious voice was taut with tension as she addressed the gathered leaders. The Crusher emerged from hyperspace much closer than we anticipated. Our long-range defenses didn't detect it in time. We're evacuating non-essential personnel, but our options are limited. Kraz stepped forward, his cybernetic implants pulsing rapidly. "What's the status of our fleet?" A Talaxian officer, her feathers ruffled with stress, responded. "We have 3 battle cruisers and a dozen support ships in range, General." More are en route, but they won't arrive for at least an hour. The Crusher will be upon us in less than 30 minutes. Sarah studied the tactical display, her brow furrowed. The Confederation ships were powerful, but against a Void Crusher. What about the station's defenses? She asked. Zara shook her head. Starpoint Alpha has formidable shields and weapon systems, but they were never designed to repel something of this magnitude. We can slow it down, but not stop it. A grim silence fell over the command center. The Void Crusher's inexorable approach seemed to suck the hope from the room. Sarah's mind raced, piecing together everything she'd learned about Confederation technology and tactics over the past month. What if, she began, an idea taking shape, what if we don't try to stop it? What if we redirect it instead? All eyes turned to her. Kraz's expression was a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Explain, human. Sarah moved to the holographic display, her fingers dancing over the controls as she zoomed in on the Void Crusher. From what I understand, these entities are drawn to energy sources, right? They consume them to fuel their own growth. The Talaxian officer nodded. Correct. That's why it's heading for the station. We're the largest energy signature in the sector. So, Sarah continued, her excitement growing. What if we give it a more tempting target? Something it can't resist. Understanding dawned in Zora's luminous eyes. You're suggesting we lure it away. Exactly, Sarah nodded. But we'd need something powerful enough to grab its attention, mobile enough to lead it away from populated areas. And expendable. Kraz's cybernetic eye weared as he considered the idea. It could work, but what could we use as bait? We can't sacrifice a ship with a crew aboard. It was Commander O'Neill who spoke up, having joined them in the command center. What about the Terran Hope? Sarah turned to her second-in-command, surprised. Our ship. But how? O'Neill's expression was grim but determined. Dr. Joe's team. Remember their breakthrough last night? They figured out a way to overcharge our fusion reactor using some of the principles from Confederation tech. If we rig it to go critical, it would create an energy signature too powerful for the Crusher to ignore. Sarah finished, the pieces falling into place. The command center erupted in a flurry of activity as the plan took shape. Dr. Zhao and her team worked feverishly to modify the Terran Hope's reactor, pushing it far beyond its intended limits. Meanwhile, Major Williams coordinated with Confederation tactical officers, plotting a course that would lead the Void Crusher away from Starpoint Alpha and into a relatively empty region of space. As the minutes ticked by, tension mounted. The Void Crusher drew ever closer, its massive form now visible to the naked eye through the station's viewports. Energy modifications complete. Dr. Zhou's voice crackled over the comm. The reactor's ready to go supercritical on your command, Captain. Sarah took a deep breath, keenly aware of the weight of the moment. This was humanity's ship, their lifeline in alien space. Sacrificing it was an enormous risk. If this failed... She felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to see General Kraz. His expression was solemn. Your people have shown great courage, Captain Chen. Whatever happens next, know that you have earned the respect of the Confederation. Sarah nodded, gratitude and determination welling up inside her. She turned to the tactical display. Launched the Terran Hope. Let's give this monster something to chase. The human ship, now nothing more than an elaborate decoy, detached from its docking bay. Its reactor pulsed with barely contained energy, creating a brilliant flare on the sensors. Almost immediately, the Void Crusher changed course, drawn to the tantalizing new prey. It's working. The Talaxian officer exclaimed. The Crusher is following the Terran Hope. For several tense minutes, they watched as the human ship led the cosmic predator on a deadly dance through space. Major Williams, remotely piloting the Terran Hope, showcased the same unorthodox maneuvers that had won him the tactical simulation. Just as the Crusher was about to overtake the ship, Williams executed a daring slingshot maneuver around a small moon. The Terran Hope's overtaxed engines flared one last time, putting crucial distance between it and its pursuer. Now, Sarah commanded. With the press of a button, the Terran Hope's reactor went supercritical. For a moment, it outshone the stars themselves, a miniature sun born of human ingenuity and alien technology. The Void Crusher, unable to resist such a feast, plunged into the heart of the explosion. The command center held its breath as sensors struggled to make sense of the chaos. When the energy readings finally stabilized, a cheer went up. The Void Crusher, while not destroyed, had been severely wounded. It limped away into deep space, no longer a threat to Starpoint Alpha or any other inhabited system. As the reality of their victory sank in, Sarah felt a complex mix of emotions. They had saved countless lives, but at the cost of their own ship. The Terran Hope, humanity's first emissary to the stars, was gone. High Counselor Zora approached, her luminescent skin pulsing with what Sarah had come to recognize as deep emotion. "Captain Chen, you and your people have done the Confederation a great service this day. Your quick thinking and willingness to sacrifice for the greater good embody the very principles we stand for." General Kraz, his earlier disdain nowhere to be seen, nodded in agreement. "I have misjudged your species, Captain. Your methods may be unconventional, but they are undeniably effective. The Confederation would be fools not to recognize the value you bring." Sarah stood a little straighter, pride in her crew and her species filling her chest. "Thank you, General. High Counselor, we came here seeking friendship and cooperation. I hope that today's events have shown that humanity is ready to stand alongside you, to face whatever challenges the galaxy may bring." As the immediate crisis passed and the work of repair and recovery began, Sarah couldn't help but feel that a new chapter was beginning, not just for humanity, but for the entire Confederation. They had faced a terrible threat together and emerged victorious. The bonds forged in this crucible would not easily be broken. Yet even as she allowed herself a moment of triumph, Sarah knew that greater challenges lay ahead. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but also dangers beyond imagination. Humanity had proven itself today, but this was just the beginning of their journey among the stars. Whatever came next, they would face it together, humans and aliens, united in the greatest adventure of all. Respect earned. In the days following the Void Crusher attack, Starpoint Alpha hummed with a new energy. The station, once a symbol of the Confederation's technological supremacy, now stood as a testament to the power of cooperation and unconventional thinking. Repair crews worked tirelessly to mend the damage, their ranks now including human engineers whose innovative approaches were earning nods of approval from their alien counterparts. Captain Sarah Chen found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Between debriefings, strategy sessions, and impromptu meetings with various alien delegations, she barely had a moment to process the monumental shift in humanity's standing within the Confederation. It was during a rare quiet moment, as she stood before a viewport gazing at the stars, that High Counselor Zara approached her. "Quite a view, isn't it, Captain?" The Elloran's melodious voice carried a warmth that hadn't been there before. Sarah nodded, a small smile on her lips. "It never gets old. No matter how far we travel, the stars always remind me of home." Zara's luminescent skin pulsed gently. Home, a concept that means so much, yet differs for every species. "Tell me, Captain Chen, after all that has happened, do you feel at home here among the stars?" Sarah considered the question carefully. "We've lost much," she said, thinking of the Terran Hope and the sacrifices made. "But we gained even more. Understanding, respect, new allies. Yes, I think we're starting to find our place here." "I'm glad to hear it," Zara replied. "Because the Council has been in discussions about humanity's role in the Confederation moving forward. We'd like you to attend a special session tomorrow. I think you'll find it illuminating." The next day, Sarah found herself once again in the Grand Council chamber. This time, however, the atmosphere was markedly different. Gone were the skeptical glances and whispered doubts. In their place was a palpable sense of anticipation and respect. As the session began, High Counselor Zara addressed the gathered representatives. Esteemed members of the Galactic Confederation, we stand at a pivotal moment in our shared history. Recent events have shown us that strength lies not just in advanced technology or established doctrine, but in diversity of thought and the courage to embrace new perspectives. Her gaze swept the chamber before settling on Sarah. Humanity, our newest members, have demonstrated these qualities in abundance. They have faced our trials with ingenuity, met an unprecedented threat with self-sacrifice, and shown us that there is always more to learn, even for a civilization as ancient as ours. A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. Sarah saw nods of approval from species that had once looked at humans with disdain. Even General Kraz, standing with his fellow military leaders, gave her a grudging nod of respect. Zara continued, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast room. It is therefore the decision of this council to formally recognize humanity's unique contributions to the Confederation. We propose the establishment of a new division within our combined fleet, one that will focus on unconventional tactics, adaptive technologies, and rapid response to emerging threats. Sarah's eyes widened as the implications sank in. This was more than just acceptance. It was an acknowledgement of humanity's strengths on a galactic scale. Furthermore, Zara added, a hint of a smile in her voice, we nominate Captain Sarah Chen to lead this new division. Her leadership during the recent crisis, as well as her ability to bridge the gap between human and Confederation methodologies, make her uniquely qualified for this role. The chamber erupted in applause. Sarah stood, momentarily stunned by the turn of events. As she made her way to the center of the chamber, she saw her team. Dr. Zhao, Major Williams, Commander O'Neill, beaming with pride. High Counselor, esteemed members of the Confederation. Sarah began, her voice steady despite the emotion welling up inside her. On behalf of humanity, I am deeply honored by your trust and recognition. We came to the stars seeking friendship, knowledge, and a chance to prove ourselves. You've given us that, and more. She paused, looking around at the diverse array of alien faces. But this is only the beginning. The challenges we face together, the trials, the Void Crusher attack, have shown that we are stronger united than divided. Humanity pledges to continue learning, to offer our unique perspective, and to stand with you against whatever threats the galaxy may hold. As the council session concluded, Sarah found herself surrounded by well-wishers and curious aliens eager to discuss future collaborations. The change in attitude was striking. Where once there had been dismissal, now there was genuine interest and respect. Later, as she stood with her team overlooking the bustling docking bay, Sarah allowed herself a moment of reflection. The Terran hope was gone, but in its place, a fleet of new ships was being prepared, a tangible symbol of humanity's new role in the Confederation. So, Commander O'Neill said, a wry smile on his face, think we made a good first impression. Dr. Zhao chuckled. Oh, I'd say we made quite an impact. Literally, in the case of that Void Crusher. Major Williams nodded towards a group of alien engineers excitedly discussing plans with their human counterparts. Look at that. A month ago, they wouldn't give us the time of day. Now they're practically begging for our input. Sarah smiled, feeling a swell of pride in her team and her species. We've come a long way. But this is just the start. We've earned our place here. Now we have to keep proving why we deserve it. As if on cue, an alert chimed on their communication devices. A new mission, the first for humanity's special division within the Confederation fleet. Sarah read the details, her excitement growing with each word. All right, team, she said, her voice filled with determination and a hint of adventure. It looks like the galaxy has another challenge for us. Let's show them what humanity can do. As they moved towards their new ship, Sarah felt a profound sense of optimism. The road ahead would not be easy. The galaxy was vast, filled with wonders and terrors beyond imagination. But humanity had found its place among the stars, earned the respect of ancient civilizations, and proven that even underdogs could rise to become valued allies. Whatever the future held, they would face it together, humans and aliens, united in the greatest adventure of all. The next chapter of their cosmic journey was about to begin, and Sarah Chen couldn't wait to see where it would lead.